On March 15, 1873, the world-renowned magazine and newspaper illustrator of the Harper Weekly, Thomas Nast, was asked to create a centerfold drawing that expressed the editorial of that week. The article was based on a New York Tribune newspaper which reported on the growing public distrust of politicians and their corrupt influence with the press. Additionally, the New York Tribune article had editorialized a new nickname for some of the press members, as they were Saints the Press. Finished illustration shows Lady Liberty with sword, standing between the two, while scolding corrupt and distrustful newspaper press members and politicians alike. 152 years later, let's see if we are having the same conversation about politicians and news media.
Always very, very supportive. If it wasn't for my partners, Julie Talbot, Dan Meadow, and all of the people at iHeart Media, the show wouldn't be heard anywhere. So iHeart is the only one right now not under attack. I'll tell you about this. First,
might as well go right to the point. It's about your clock speed.
Audacy amassed 1.9.
Might as well go right to the point. It's about your.
Where are we? They're dismantling radio and buying radio up.
From New York.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to enter into the record a letter that I sent to the FCC on April 8th, 2024, urging the Commission to thoroughly scrutinize the transfer of ownership of Audacy Incorporated to the Soros Management Fund.
Without objection to order.
Commissioner Carr, are you aware of this letter?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and can you give me a status update on the proceedings as they relate to the transfer of ownership of Audacy to the Soros Fund Management Company?
Yes, you indicated there's a transaction where a Soros-backed group would take ownership of over 200 radio stations across 40 different markets after the FCC originally indicating that transaction could be reviewed and approved at the Bureau level without a Commission vote. It's now become clear that that is a decision before the full Commission, and it's one that I would assume now or in the near future the Commission would approve. I think what's interesting about it is that the FCC here is not following its normal process for reviewing a transaction. We have established over a number of years one way in which you can get approval from the FCC when you have in excess of 25% foreign ownership, which this transaction does. And it seems to me that the FCC is poised to create, for the first time, an entirely new shortcut.
Sounds very good. Of course, before this deal is completely edible, we'll have to draw up certain official documents.
Yeah, thank you. As you pointed out here and previously, these proceedings for transfer of ownership have been expedited. What exactly makes this case so deserving of an expedited proceeding so far, from what you can tell?
There is nothing about this transaction that is out of the ordinary. It's the type of thing that we see all the time, and the FCC has a process for this. The full Commission itself has never signed off on a shortcut like this. What we usually do is require people to file a petition with us, bring in national security agencies. They can review the foreign ownership. It's probably no big deal here, but we review that foreign ownership and then we vote. Here, they're trying to do something that's never been done before at the Commission level.
No, because I precipitated that.
Yeah, I must say, Commissioner, I'm extremely alarmed at what's happening with this transaction. This is very unprecedented. Looking at the facts, it seems that the administration is giving a left-wing billionaire who is a major donor, a close ally, one of the chief funders of all of their efforts and their dark money, a free pass to take control of hundreds of local radio stations.
This is why people distrust government.
Mr. George Soros is an oligarch. He's one of the wealthiest people in the world. He's a friend of President Biden's. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, President Biden just gave him, I think, the highest civilian honor that a president can give to a civilian. The Presidential Medal of Freedom.
This is why people distrust government, because you're unwilling to have these conversations.
In Pittsburgh, they have Dana Lash on many of their stations. They have Sean Hannity. They have Mark Levin. And George Soros has spent more than $21 billion over the last few decades. He spent $1.3 billion in 2022 alone. most of that cash went to left-wing causes, including Media Matters, Planned Parenthood, the Sunrise Movement. He's the guy who has put in the radical DAs and the radical attorney generals. And now, what? He's buying up talk radio. Why would you do
These kids,
that?
I think you'll find that this whole thing may entrench the value of your property.
Why would you buy all of these broadcasts? It seems like it's a failing industry, right? It's not.
Oh, well, if it would entrance the value of the property.
It's not. About 80% of the people still listen to radio. 80%. That's incredible. You think nobody listens to the radio. 80% still listen to the radio.
No, because I precipitated that. In fact, I took the trouble to draw up this little diagram.
That is the second
Now, if you look
largest broadcaster, now going to George Soros. Then we have this. Cumulus. Cumulus used to be the ABC radio network. It used to be the largest. Now I think it is the third largest. Cumulus is facing a takeover from an investor based in Singapore.
Hey, you. When is this over?
It ain't over till the fat lady sings.
Is that one bad enough for you, son?
Part of the process of their bankruptcy, it has asked for and received from the FCC permission to become as much as 100% foreign owned. So the third largest broadcaster is about to go to a Singapore holdings company. How does this bid for America? You have George Soros and a Singapore company. And then iHeart, all alone. But don't worry, news for radio gets even better.
No, because
Yesterday,
I precipitated that.
broadcaster
In fact,
to start posting a race and gender scorecard that breaks down the demographics of their workforce. Activists lobbied for this because they want to see businesses pressured into hiring people based on their race and gender. Courts have already overturned the FCC twice for pressuring broadcasters into making hiring decisions in violation of the Constitution.
Mr. President, last week, President Biden, I wish him well, gave his farewell address to America. He said a number of things, but one in particular got my attention. He warned America about, quote, his words, not mine, quote, a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of very few ultra-wealthy people. President Biden went on to say, and I quote again, today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead. End quote. Now, I don't know who President Biden was talking about, but I know one particular circumstance about which I'm going to speak that fits his warning. Again, I don't know if the circumstance I'm about to describe is what President Biden meant, but if the shoe fits, wear it, Cinderella.
The FCC. Trump calling Carr, quote, a warrior of free speech, saying that he will, quote, end the regulatory onslaught that has been crippling America's job creators and innovators, and ensure that the FCC delivers for rural America. Current FCC Chair Jessica Rosenworcel has also announced her plans to leave the agency on Trump's inauguration day, January 20th.
He's buying up talk radio. Why would you do that? Why would you buy all of these broadcasts. It seems like it's a failing industry, right? It's not. It's not. About 80% of the people still listen to radio. 80%. That's incredible. You think nobody listens to the radio. 80% still listen to the radio.
Everybody now is going to get a fair shake going forward.
Will Soros still be able to acquire those 200 radio stations?
There's a petition for reconsideration pending at the FCC right now, and I want to take a very hard look at that.
Okay. We're going to be watching your work closely. Commissioner, thank you so
Albert
much.
Einstein described insanity as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
In 1941, there were congressional hearings held on the power of anti-war sentiment being broadcast by movies and radio during the Second World War. In 1941, the Senate committee was investigating the war propaganda, which would involve the United States in the war with Germany, by the hands of a small group of people here in the States. Sounds familiar? Here we are in 2025 holding such investigations on the same problems. The media, politicians, and distrust. Thanks for watching and hope to see you again for part 2 of this 4-part series.
Same bat time, same